yours?
So, first question, the standard one. Where did the idea to do a ballet come from?
Well, a few years ago, a friend of ours, Yvonne Poutrov, who was the dancer at the principal dancer at the Royal Ballet, phoned me up, and he'd been offered a slot or something of his own at Sadler's Wells in the summer. And he just asked me if me and Chris would write a piece of music for him. And I said I wasn't sure, but I'd ask Chris. And totally by coincidence, 2 years later, Chris phoned me up and said he'd been reading Hans Christian Andersen's stories, and there was a story called The Most Incredible Thing, and he thought it would make a really good story for ballet. And I said, wow, that's amazing. Yvonne phoned up 2 days ago and said, would we write a ballet for him? And so because of this synchronicity, we decided that we would pursue the idea, and we came and met Sadler's Wells. And now it's happening.
Are you excited? Are you nervous?
But I'm excited and nervous, yeah.
Is that a good thing?
Well, it'd be pretty weird if you weren't excited and nervous, I think. I mean, it's exciting that it's happening. You're nervous because you don't know how it's going to go, how it's going to be received. I've not even seen the whole thing yet. Well, actually, after this is a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Let's talk about the story. What's the story actually about?
The story is it's one of Hans Christian Andersen's last stories he wrote, and it's the king says that whoever comes up with the most incredible thing will marry the princess and get half the kingdom. And so people try to come up with these crazy ideas. Mr. De Frutos. Sorry, I'll start that again. Silence, please. The story is that the king says, whoever comes up with the most incredible thing will marry the princess and gets the most incredible thing. And so there's like a competition in the kingdom. And the guy that wins it is a guy that comes up with this amazing clock, which represents throughout each number of the clock, from 1 to 12, really all of the universe, all of life and creation. 4 is the 4 seasons, 7 is the 7 deadly sins, 12 is a new year chiming, 9 is 9 months of pregnancy. And everyone says this is the most incredible thing, but then this guy comes along, this sort of subversive guy comes along and just smashes it into pieces. And everyone says, no, that act of destruction is the most incredible thing. And so he's going to marry the princess, so the bad guy's going to marry the princess. And just as they're getting married, the parts of the clock start to come back to life. And they represent all the ideas in the clock. And they suffocate the guy, if you like. And the original inventor comes back and they get married. And Hans Christian Andersen ends the story by saying, and no one was jealous, and that was the most incredible thing of all. So really it's a story about how you can destroy the physical manifestation of an idea and impress people like fascism did in the 1930s. And this story was used by the Danish resistance in the Second World War as a sort of anti-fascist parable. But you can't kill the idea, and the idea will triumph in the end.
So this idea obviously appealed to you. What kind of difficulties did you face with doing the score?
We approached it very methodically, writing the score. Sadler's Wells put us together with a playwright called Matthew Dunster, and we discussed it with him and also the choreographer, Javier de Frutos. And Matthew came up with what he called a map for music, and he wrote like a 20-page synopsis, and then Chris and I just sat down and wrote the whole thing. We started at the beginning, worked through to the end.
And would Pet Shop Boys fans recognise it, do you think?
Yeah, some people say, actually I've heard opinions from, it sounds something like the Pet Shop Boys to typical Pet Shop Boys. So the truth is somewhere in the middle, I think.
And do you think fans will enjoy the ballet?
Yeah, it's, well, we'll have to wait and see. I think, it's great, the music sounds great. We've got our music and 26-piece orchestra. The story is great. What I've seen, the visuals are amazing. So I think for a lot of people said to me, it's the first time they've ever been to a ballet. It's not in the main classical ballet choreography either, it's modern choreography, but it's very energetic and the story is told. And so I think they're in for a good experience.
And was that kind of important for you to try and do do something else? Not necessarily to definitely introduce your fans to a different kind of world, but was it important for you to try and do something new?
Yes, that's why we did it really. Also, we've always been fascinated by putting music in a theatrical context, even in our own shows, where we've always worked with theatre directors and people. And you know, when we did Battleship Potemkin several years ago in Trafalgar Square, we've done it in various other countries since. It's exciting. You know, it's exciting writing pop songs, but it's exciting doing something with other performers. It's a larger collaboration.
And it's also coming out as an album.
It's come out as an album this week, yes. Which is, I mean, I think it's a really good record to listen to in your car, a bit like Battleship Potemkin was. If you're going a long journey, 'cause music, you know, it lasts for 80 minutes or something, and it's great driving music. I don't think you even have to know the story. I think you just go with the flow of the music.
I read a thing about Paul McCartney apparently doing a ballet score as well. And
I know nothing about it.
do you think he's copying?
No, I think it's a Elvis Costello's written a ballet before, you know. Actually, a lot of pop music has been used in ballet over the years. You know, Twyla Tharp has worked with Billy Joel's music, and some on Joni Mitchell's music, and Michael Clarke worked with Fall's music, and I think maybe the Sex Pistols. But I suppose not that many people have written them.
Do you remember the first time you went to a ballet?
Yeah, when I was about 9 years old, the Royal Ballet, I grew up in Newcastle, the Royal Ballet used to come to Newcastle every year, and I went to see Giselle with my mother and my sister, and I thought it was great, really liked it.
What are your memories of it?
I think it was one of the first times I went to the theatre as well. I just like the whole experience of this strange world on the stage.
Do you think you've learned more about the ballet world being involved in this project? I mean, obviously you have friends who are in the dancing world.
Yes, I only had one friend, Ivan, who's in ballet. Yes, I mean we've worked with a lot of dancers. You know, we've toured with dancers and stuff. It's a disciplined world, dance. You know, they do classes every day and all the rest of it. I mean, it's a very disciplined. I mean, ballet dancers have a very, very disciplined life. You know, which I'm sort of quite impressed by. I couldn't do it.
No, I wish I could actually. And do you still go to the ballet now? What kind of things would you go and see?
I occasionally, you know, I like to see maybe something new at the Royal Ballet or Sadler's Wells. I went to Christmas to see Cinderella here, which I've seen before. I love Prokofiev's music as well. And last week I went to see Alice in Wonderland at the Royal Opera House to see. I mean, that's a new narrative ballet, the first one they've done for 15 years, and a very, you know, expensive and finessed production. So yeah, I do.
Do you feel like you've been completely embraced in the dancing world?
I don't know if we've been completely embraced, but we've been made to feel welcome, which is nice.
And what would you like to do next?
Well, we've already started writing our next album. So I guess that's what we're doing next. I think next we're going to have a little bit of a break though as well.
I was about to say, it must be non-stop.
Yeah, it is a bit. So.
How much work was this for you? Was it more than an album? Did it feel like a lot more work?
No, it was about the same. I mean, writing an album, you know, maybe you've got to have like 12 perfectly formed pop songs. That's a lot of work. This is a different thing. It's a bit like maybe if you wrote a film soundtrack. But at the same time, you're trying to tell a story through music, and you're aware that people are going to dance to it. So it's been a unique experience for us. It's not like anything else.
And you're going to be excited to be backstage?
Yes, as I said earlier, I'm going to be excited and nervous.
Is that where you want to be, like backstage, or do you want to be kind of out front?
Oh no, I'm really watching it. I'll have to watch it. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Very excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lovely. I saw the
Hi, my name is Javier de Frutos, and I'm the director of The Most Incredible Thing.
We're rolling well, thank you.
Great.
Brilliant. So, how did you get involved?
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping in. Running speed, stand by, stable.
Okay. So how did you get involved with them?
I got involved by by the boys and by Sad as well as by Alistair Spalding, and I got invited by our producer Emma Glaston to meet them and to see if we would have some chemistry working together. And they told me there was the possibility of this project happening. And about 2 years ago, I decided probably the best way to have this date rather than arranging a kind of strange marriage, arranged marriage, was to get into studio and play with some of the music they had already composed, ideas, very general ideas, and to see if the way that I work clicked with the way that they were thinking that the project would go. It wasn't an audition, it was more of a really seeing if it would be a happy marriage for a long time. And it happened very quickly, and after that we sort of decided that we were going to embark on this kind of extraordinary voyage that we have now.
So what appealed to you?
Just put in the t-shirt before you continue. Just there, so just make it down so you've got to wearing your t-shirt a bit on this one.
Cool.
Okay. It's all right.
Okay, cool.
Between makeup and fashion, it's all just...
Well, I'm going to make it perfect. So what appealed to you about the story that they were interested in?
This is the side of me that people don't normally recognize me for. I think the darkness of it. I've never been much, not even as a kid, much of a follower of fairy tales, and now most certainly not. Fairy tale endings really have escaped me for a very long time. So I like the idea that I could actually stage one, even if it wasn't mine. But more importantly was that there was something already from the beginning about the fact that a father has to give half of a kingdom, has to invent this competition in order to give a half of a kingdom, and the hand of the daughter in marriage tells you A, what kind of parent he is, B, what's the state of this nation that you're actually almost committed yourself half bankrupt, and what does the daughter think of all this, because we don't hear the voice in the story itself. So because the story was only 3 pages, but I had a chance to elaborate on the story, meaning that yes, I could seriously explore who this daughter was and who this father was and where the hell is the mother. And all those little things actually really became my quest of finding the truth and finding how closer to the story to the story Hans Christian Andersen was. And also because it had the most fascinating last line, which was that the most incredible thing was that no one was jealous at all. And I think that that's the most divine way to finish a story, and it kind of began the beginning of mine.
Okay. I do like the last line.
I know, it's fantastic, isn't it?
I read that you were, well, obviously you're used to doing controversial works, and they'd asked you to do a family-friendly show. Is that right? Yeah,
that's right. And what I have said is the only thing that they haven't told me was which family. So I mean, it's clearly for me, it's defined family in the 21st century, and how difficult to define family. I think that our tendency of surrounding ourselves with people that we think that are functional and makes us happier are our own family. So if you find that your family is dysfunctional, as for instance mine pretty much is, I have replaced a lot of that, a lot of the blood with a lot of friends and ex-partners and people that are really close to me. They will be the first people that I call if anything good or bad happened to me, and they will be my circle and my family, and therefore it's for them as well. And many of us have those sorts of families, and alternative families, but also the 2.5 children family. And at the end you discover that when you say family ballets, you're making a ballet for everybody. And they should appeal in one way or another to everybody. So that became my definition. Everybody.
Talking about the choreography, how did you kind of approach it? You got all these ideas that you liked. How did you kind of approach that physically on stage? I found a vocabulary. That's the first thing that you do. You find a language that you pretty much, you kind of decide what language you're going to speak from beginning to end, so to speak. And we decided to go for something, to start with a world that is very, very angular and very harsh, and very on the beat of the music. And that as it progresses,
it becomes softer and rounder. But even the same language, just spoken with a much more fluidity and much more emotion and much more love. So it has a narrative arc, the language in itself. And we spent probably 3 or 4 weeks just finding the language, because once I found that everybody could speak it fluently, then it was much easier to put stuff on stage. And it's not dissimilar of when actors have to learn text. Until they're off the book, you cannot really get them up on the floor and start staging. So we decided that we really needed to find that it was a comfortable and fluid language for everybody.
And how have the dancers been?
Dancers have been great, and also because the dancers have been, many of them, talking about my family, many of them have been working with me for 6, 7, 8 years. Every time I have projects like this, they come with me. It's one more page on one of the more chapters that we've been playing with. So they all kind of know me, and also they are very much pro me getting it right. So I feel that I'm very supported by them, and they will do anything to make it happen for me. And therefore, it's a mutual support. I want to make it happen for them.
Do you think, because there's going to be Pet Shop Boys fans coming to see this that maybe haven't been to a ballet before, do you think they'll enjoy it?
They're going to love it. Absolutely love it. I don't know. I hope they do. I mean, I think the boys attract a great variety of people, and it's also, they have also had a lot of intellectual and artistic approach in many of their concerts and concepts. And in many ways, this kind of follows this tradition. We're just adding one more layer to the element and to the depth of the stuff that they already write.
I know what I wanted to ask you about. Apparently you based The Princess on The Princess Caroline.
I didn't quite base it. I love Princess Caroline. We met Princess Caroline last year in Monaco. She came to see one of the controversial ballets, and she was very, very pro it. And the naughty original Bad Princess came back, and I adored her. But at the same time, I love the fact that it had such incredible reputation for falling out from nightclubs in New York. Is a really devoted and loving mother, and she brought one of the teenage sons, and it was just a really great thing to see that we all grow up and we all come out well at the end if we take care of ourselves. So it was just really great, because she also loved my dancers. So in many ways, I liked the fact that there was that she had that reputation. She was a difficult teenager, or perhaps she was. That's what people say. There's something rebellious and terribly modern, but terribly interesting and heartwarming at the end. So it was just a very easy one to do it. It wasn't just a choice. It was just that she seemed to be a nice role model to base somebody with. And my dancer Clemmy, who plays the princess, really, really liked her. So we thought that it was at least a great image to follow.
That's great. I can't wait to see it. Finally, how do you cope with kind of reviews and critics? And are you nervous?
I never cope well with this, and anybody who says that they cope well, they're lying. Your skin doesn't get thicker; it gets thinner. And I think everybody's entitled to opinions, and sometimes critics actually like to have a bit of fun. It becomes more of a selfish act rather than really the chronicling of the work itself. So sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's hilarious. And when it gets personal because they think that they have seen you for 20 years and that therefore they know you, which they never do, then it becomes quite heartbreaking. So it's tough. This is my life, so to speak. So you're talking about my baby when you criticize it that way. And at the end, and on the other hand, one day I wake up and say, "Oh my God, it's only a ballet." Grow up. So it goes both ways, really.
Does it matter more that it sells out than the reviews in a way?
My accountant likes it more that way. Yes, I mean, I like the fact that people follow it. I mean, at the end, really, it's important that people follow it. Critical stuff actually gives you a presentation card and a certain amount of, because dance is so ephemeral. That's almost the only thing you have at the end is a piece of paper with words written in it. So I like the idea of having this collection of clips at home. And then when I get older, I realize how many clips I have, and that becomes a little bit sad. It just goes both ways. I mean, yes, I do like really nice things about myself. Anybody would. but I do like the fact that we attract audience, and this also attracts even more audience than I had before because of the boys themselves.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. That was great.
And could you give me that again, please?
I'm Alistair Spalding, I'm the Artistic Director of Sadler's Wells.
Brilliant. So, how would you describe the production of The Incredible
Well, the Pet Shop Boys wanted this to be a narrative ballet in that sort of old Tchaikovsky sense, but for now, using contemporary language. And I think that's really what we've got. I mean, that was the intention. So it does tell a story. It's a very clear story. It's a very simple story. It's a very old-fashioned story because it is based on a fairy tale. But the language, the movement language, is for now, and obviously the music is from now because the Pet Shop Boys have composed it. So, yeah, I think that's really what you get. You get a narrative ballet, but told in a contemporary language.
Do you think Pet Shop Boys fans are going to love it?
I think people who know the Pet Shop Boys will recognise the score straight away. And will relate to that. So it's good because it's different because there is only one song in it. So it's mostly instrumental, but you'll recognise it's the Pet Shop Boys straight away. But it helps to drive the narrative along. There are themes which are based around some of the characters. So they've done the job properly, but they haven't gone too far away from their roots.
And how have you watched the production come together?
Yes, I've watched this from the very, very first workshop. Was about 4 years ago, I think, where we introduced Javier to the Pet Shop Boys, and he did some very initial choreography to some of their material, and I've watched it develop since then. I mean, obviously, the most intense period has been recent weeks, so I've been down to the studios to watch some of the rehearsals, and it's very nice material. I mean, now everything has to come together with the set and the lighting and all of those other things. This is the most intense and complicated part of it, but I'm looking forward to seeing the final version.
How do you kind of talk someone through the kind of big opening night when there's so many things that need to come together?
My job in those situations coming up to opening night is to keep everyone calm, to try and deal with issues that arise. But I think the most important thing is to encourage, because I think everyone gets very tired in these moments. They're working very late at night and early in the morning, and it's very pressurized because they know that there is a first night coming up. So it's really to just make sure that that's done as smoothly as possible, that they're getting support, that you say the right things at the right time. It's not really helpful to be too critical at this point.
What difficulties do people face when they're working on a ballet for the first time? I mean, do people jump to conclusions that they need to have things explained to them?
I think one of the issues with dance is that you start that first day rehearsals in a 6-week period and you have nothing. There's nothing there. I mean, on this occasion we had a 3-page scenario that Matthew Dunster had put together, but apart from that there's no material. So that's the most difficult thing about it, is that you're creating in the studio with the dancers over that period. So it's really, I mean, Javi obviously had ideas and structures in place, and there was the music, but it's really that sort of sense of not having anything. I mean, there's no real script as in the normal sort of play sense.
I've read that Paul McCartney's apparently written a score as well. You're not involved in that, are you?
I'm not involved in the Paul McCartney ballet. He's doing that for the New York City Ballet. I'm very interested in that as an idea. I mean, I think these where people from the pop and rock industry get involved in these things, it's a very good thing, because I think that the audience widens, because people who may not have considered coming to a 3-act narrative ballet at Sadler's Wells might consider it if they love the Pet Shop Boys, and then if they love it, then they will start to come and see more work here. So I think it's a very good thing that these things are mixed up these days.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. incredible things. So there's a mechanical clock. He makes the most incredible thing, which is the clock. First to 17th, first to 16th.
And I'm a producer here and producer of the show, so I just had a few things to say. As with any dress rehearsal, we might be stopping and starting a bit. This is actually the first time we've run the show top to tail, and in particular Act 3.
been so long since I heard from you. Play the message you left. Sat and thought about what to do.